by the Montana Television Network. Montana This Morning continues on Montana's News Leader.
We're just a day away from another potential government shutdown. Last night, the House voted on a continuing resolution to fund the government through March. But that may not matter if the president gets what he wants. I'm in Adobe. I'll explain ahead.
Joseph DeWyze enters the plea for the murder of his estranged wife. I was in the courtroom and I have the details coming up.
Happy Wednesday, Southwest Montana, 6:30. Chilliam and Missy O'Malley with you here. Our top story this morning: lawmakers on Capitol Hill have until tomorrow to prevent a second government shutdown this year.
That's right, and there is plenty of optimism on Capitol Hill that a deal is close. Over at the White House, though, the president says if immigration isn't properly dealt with, a shutdown might actually be helpful. And Adoba has our story.
Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle believe they can and will avoid another government shutdown before Thursday's deadline for a budget. A deal could come as soon as today, despite the curveball President Trump threw at negotiations yesterday.
If we don't change it, let's have a shutdown. We'll do a shutdown, and it's worth it for our country. I'd love to see a shutdown if we don't get this stuff taken care of.
The president, during a White House meeting on the violent MS-13 gang, was calling for a more stringent immigration policy. Lawmakers trying to avoid a second shutdown this year seem to push past Mr. Trump's comments.
He's the only guy that finds anything good in a shutdown, so that's not helpful. But our goal here is not to play Mother May I with him.
A government shutdown is never the answer. I don't believe we're in any danger of having another government shutdown.
Senate leaders from both parties met yesterday and were optimistic that a deal could be imminent. Both sides suggested they were close on terms that would raise spending limits on the military and domestic programs.
I think we're on the way to getting an agreement, and on the way to getting agreement very soon.
Earlier in the day, the House voted to pass a short-term government spending bill that would expire next month. It would, however, provide new funding to the military through September. And Adoba, CBS News.
Now, negotiations on the budget are also tied closely to negotiations on immigration and the DACA proposal. The status of illegal immigrants brought to the U.S. as children. Now, Senators John McCain and Christopher Coons are expected to introduce a bipartisan plan to the Senate next week that would extend the DACA protections in exchange for border security funding, but not the wall. The White House on Monday rejected that plan.
Of course, much more to follow on that. Again, Thursday, the deadline on that would be tomorrow.
Yes,
so
sir.
See how that all goes. Meantime, Matt, as we work our way through this Wednesday, what you're telling me is gear up, is what I'm hearing out of all of this. Enjoy it while you can, and then...
We have a weather deadline coming, and it's on Thursday as well. We are expecting some changes here fairly soon. You look at what's going on across the state, bitter cold temperatures off to the north. A little closer to home, Belgrade sitting at 26, 36 in Butte. Will likely be near the 40-degree mark today. Good chance that we could see a few isolated flakes, but the big changes coming as you head into your Thursday evening. We'll talk more in depth about what you can expect over the upcoming days in just a couple minutes.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. And our top local story for you. Yesterday, Joseph DeWyze made his initial appearance in district court for the murder of his estranged wife, Lauren DeWyze. MTN's Morgan Davies was in the courtroom and explains what happened.
Joseph DeWyze entered not guilty pleas for both charges in front of District Court Judge Holly Brown.
For the deliberate homicide, you can be punished by life imprisonment.
DeWyze entered his plea in a courtroom full of law enforcement officers. DeWyze has been charged with 1-count deliberate homicide, which the maximum penalty could be life in prison. He has also been charged with 1-count attempted deliberate homicide. After entering both not guilty pleas, Eric Kitzmiller, the prosecutor on the case, asked that DeWyze's bail be reinstated at $1 million. Judge Brown granted this request. At DeWyze's in-custody hearing in Justice Court, his bail was lowered from $1 million to $800,000. DeWyze remains in the Gallatin County Detention Center. Reporting in Bozeman, Morgan Davies, MTN News.
Now an update on the other victim in that shooting. It's been almost a month since Ashlee Van Hammer was critically injured when her roommate's husband, Joseph DeWyze, allegedly broke into her home in Belgrade. Van Hammer suffered multiple gunshot wounds, but according to a Facebook page Van Hammer's sister is updating on a regular basis, she's making great progress. The latest post says that Van Hammer is eating on her own and off of a restricted diet. It also says that she's awake, but she's unable to move the left side of her body. Van Hammer's family hopes that intense physical therapy will help rehabilitate that side of her body. Now, for a link on the Facebook page, you can visit us online. You'll also find a link to help donate to alleviate some of Van Hammer's medical expenses.
In other court news this morning, the sex trafficking case against a man accused of being a pimp is now in the hands of a jury at the Billings Federal Courthouse. Terrence Edwards faces up to 10 charges related to prostitution for trafficking women and children in Montana. His co-defendant, Frastine Joannes Granados, also on trial for tampering with a victim. MTN's Asia Gore has our story.
The defense attorney for Terrence Edwards told jurors this case is a matter of towing the legal line between escorts and prostitutes. Prosecutors, though, say Edwards crossed that line many times. The defense says Edwards ran a legitimate business that satisfied his client's desire for 3 C's: communication, connection, and companionship. Prosecutors told jurors to add a 4th C to Edwards' business model: con man. Prosecutors say Edwards coerced and intimidated 3 women into selling their bodies for his own personal gain. They add Edwards would have done the same to 3 teenage girls if one of his adult victims hadn't contacted police. The defense told jurors the alleged victims in this case should have some accountability, saying they dictated what happened with clients behind closed doors. The jury was sent home for the night and will resume deliberations tomorrow.
Aisha tells us Granado will also learn her fate when the jury reaches its verdict. The jurors will reconvene this morning in Billings.
And the couple who was killed in a plane crash near San Diego on Tuesday morning were part-time residents here in Montana. Authorities have identified the couple as Dr. John Longhurst and his wife Cheryl. Dr. Longhurst worked at UC Irvine Health. Their plane was registered in Darby, Montana, and according to CBS station KFMB in San Diego, the couple owns homes in both states. Officials say the single-engine Cessna lost power shortly after it took off from Santee, California, and crashed after the pilot tried to return to the airport. Witnesses on the ground say they heard a loud noise before the small plane crashed in an industrial lot.
Some folks on the ground said they heard some kind of engine throttling, and the airplane made a turn, it looks like, and came back and was actually traveling eastbound when it lost power and landed here in the yard.
And officials from the Federal Aviation Administration were on the scene. The investigation will be handled by the National Transportation Safety Board.
Back here at home, the AAU Mile High Classic that's coming to Butte this weekend is not a widely talked about tournament, but it has a huge economic impact on the mining city. TN's John Amy tells us how important sports tournaments like this one are part of Butte's economy.
Butte summer festivals certainly make plenty of noise for the local economy, but sports tournaments give an important economic boost to the city, like this year's Mile High Classic that is expected to bring 190 4th through 8th grade basketball teams to the mining city.
With 190 teams coming in, it fills up all the hotel rooms in the town and Anaconda and Whitehall. So that's good, and it's a huge benefit, economic benefit for the city.
Girls and boys will be playing in courts all around the city for this tournament that's been around for 21 years. Many organizations contribute to this event.
Butte Central, Butte High, the Civic Center, Montana Tech, you know, if it wasn't for everybody, you know, coming together and allowing their gyms and their facilities to be accessed for this tournament, we wouldn't be able to do something at this magnitude.
Well, everybody knows that Butte summer festivals are important to the local economy, but after the holiday season, things around here get a little cold. So it's important for these tournaments to heat things up.
They come at a great time for the community, you know, for the hotels and restaurants. When things are just a little bit slower this time of year, it is a nice bump for them to get this kind of business this time of year.
Officials estimate this weekend's tournament could add about $4,000 per team to Butte's economy. John Amy, MTN News, in Butte.
Now, Hoops Amy tells us the Mile High Classic will have games Saturday and Sunday at gyms all across the mining city. No word yet on John's status with the Harlem Globetrotters.
I just wanted him to do a granny shot.
That's it.
Oh, John, Amy, we
Man of
just
many
love
skills.
it. He really is.
Well done, Hoops.
Stay with us. Coming up on Montana this morning, get prepared for a rare performance from a North Korean pop star group at the Olympics. This hasn't happened in 15 years, and why this is making headlines, that's all when we come back.
But first, let's see what the headlines are at 7 o'clock on CBS This Morning. Here's Gail King.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS This Morning, will the vice president's Olympic trip lead to a meeting with North Korea? Ben Tracy is in South Korea with the diplomatic doors that could open. And we visit Chance the Rapper in his hometown of Chicago to see how his open mic project gives high school students a chance to shine. See you at 7 o'clock on the dot.